make a cat hat. And this is the first part of our crochet tutorial. And I would like to think this is good enough for a beginner's crochet tutorial. So this cat hat is the winner in our voting selection because this is part of currently our newest collection on our website. And the collection name is called Down at the Farm. So in the first part of this tutorial, we're simply going to make the basic hat, okay? And then later on, we're going to make the face, and then we're going to attach the ears. And this hat is made out of gray colored yarn, white and black for the eyes, white and bright pink for the trimming and for the face, okay? But for our tutorial, we're going to use a different color yarn, which coincidentally is also the same, is available, rather the cat hat is available in cream color, okay? All right. The brand that I'll be using for our wool is by West Yorkshire Spinners. It's called Chunky Roving Retreat. Okay, and this is 100% British wool. Okay, 100% natural. Right, so it says it's chunky, but from personal experience, it feels more like a Aran weight or a worsted weight. So just be mindful that sometimes a particular brand will say it's chunky, but it might feel a little bit different. The crochet hook that I'll be using is the H hook, or 5 millimeters. And this is quite a good size for beginners to use. If you like a tighter fitting hat, like the stitches you want them to be a little bit tighter, you could use a slightly smaller hook. But this is a good size to start with. All right, so let's get on with making the basic hat. First thing you need to do is to create a magic circle or a magic ring. I would also like to warn you at this point that I'm actually left-handed. So my dominant hand is the left hand. Okay. And my right hand is the non-dominant one. So I'm going to wind this yarn around my index finger twice. Okay. And I'm going to insert the hook under this 2 loops. Okay. There you go. And then I'm going to hook that. I'm going to grab this. I'm going to pull it through under that. Okay. So I grabbed it, pull it through that other loop. And I'm going to twist this. Okay, I'm going to twist this crochet hook so that I can grab this part, okay, this part of the yarn, and I can pull it through. And here is my magic circle. Okay. So you need to maintain this ring right here. Okay, try to maintain that. Don't lose that. If you lose it, you need to create your magic circle again. The kind of stitch I'll be using is a double crochet stitch. Okay, this is my favorite way to make a hat because it creates you create your hat quite quickly with a double crochet stitch. If you use a single crochet stitch, it takes a lot longer. Okay, so since we're using a double crochet stitch, and I am using US terms, by the way, my starting chain will be 2 chains. Some people prefer 3 chains as their starting chain, but I would use 2 chains. So make 2 chains, and then you're going to be making our first double crochet stitch. So which is yarn over, and then you're going to insert your hook into the magic ring, and then you're going to yarn over, pull through, that magic ring, yarn over again, pull through 2 loops, yarn over, pull through the final 2 loops to create your first double crochet stitch. So let's do that again. So you're going to yarn over, you're going to insert your hook into the magic ring, and then you're going to yarn over, pull through that magic ring, yarn over, pull through 2 loops, yarn over, pull through the final 2 loops to create your second double crochet stitch. Okay, so you're going to keep doing that until you end up with 10 double crochet stitch into the magic circle. So far we've made 2 double crochet stitches. Some people, they count the turning chain, which is the 2 chains at the start, as if it's a double crochet stitch. Personally, I wouldn't count that. So you just would have to decide for yourselves if you're going to count it as a stitch. So make a total of 10 double crochet stitches into the magic ring to create your first row for your hat. Okay, so another reason why I like the double crochet stitches because it's easy to count your stitches, because double crochet stitches are relatively larger than a single crochet stitch. So how many stitches do we already have? We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So I need 2 more stitches to complete my first row. All right. Now, another thing you might notice, especially if you've this might be your first time, or you're not really used to creating projects using a magic circle, is it takes a bit of practice to maintain this magic circle and to know exactly what to do with this loose end. You need to maintain that circle and make sure that that loose end is on that side of your project. So if you've created total number of stitches for the first row, then you can close that circle right there by pulling that loop and then looking for the first stitch that you made, not the turning chain if you're not counting it as a stitch. So this is our first double crochet stitch. Okay, let's make sure that you can see that. White balance is not brilliant for this camera. So that's my first stitch. So I'm going to insert my hook right there. And I'm going to do a slip stitch. So yarn over, pull through that stitch you just inserted in, and also through your stitch you're currently started with. Okay. So this is the first row of our hat. The next row is we're going to make 20 double crochet stitches, which is simply you double the amount of double crochet stitch for every stitch of the previous row. So first row is 10 double crochet stitches, second row will be 20, third row will be 30, fourth row will be 40, and once we get to the fifth row it actually changes a bit. Okay, so again we do a turning chain. I normally do 2 chains, 1, 2. If you want to make 3 chains, that's really up to you. Personally, I like to make my projects a bit on the tight side since I make winter hats and, you know, insulation wise, we like tighter fitting hats if it's really cold out there. And then we're going to do 2 double crochet stitches for every row, for every stitch rather. So yarn over, insert your hook into the first stitch, yarn over, pull through that stitch, yarn over, pull through 2 stitches, yarn over, pull through 2 stitches, rather 2 loops. So that's our first double crochet stitch um, for that stitch. And then you're going to make another double crochet stitch into the same stitch. So if you've seen a pattern, you can identify this particular pattern as an increase in that stitch, or it could just be 2 double crochet stitches in the same stitch. Okay, so that's what we're going to do. We're going to be working 2 crochet stitches for every stitch of the previous row. Okay, so let me slow down. So I've made 2 double crochet stitches for every stitch of the previous row 3 times. So now I have 6 stitches there, okay? So since I've made 2 double crochet stitches there, I'm going to be moving over to the next stitch of the previous row. I'm going to be working 2 double crochet stitches in that stitch. We are going to yarn over, insert our hook into that stitch, yarn over, pull through that stitch, yarn over, pull through 2 loops on your hook, yarn over, pull through 2 loops on that hook. So you have your first double crochet stitch for that particular row 1 stitch. And then we're going to do the same for that same stitch, because you want 2 double crochet stitches for that particular stitch. Okay, so we keep doing that until we end up with 20 double crochet stitches. Now you might be asking at some point, what about the size? What do we end up with the size? Now it is probably best that you determine what the resulting size is with practice, because it will be different for every person. So it depends on, number 1, the thickness of the yarn, number 2, the crochet hook size, if it's big or small, and number 3, the person making it, because the tightness of your stitches will be unique to you. So, I have a preference for a particular size of yarn and particular size of hook, and I have my own way of doing things, like how tight things are. So I know exactly that if I use this particular combination and this particular pattern, and I'm going to end up with a child size hat. You know what I mean? So for you, my child size hat, if you do exactly the same thing, but your, your nuanced way of crocheting, you might end up with an adult size hat. Yeah. Okay. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So this is 20. Okay. So that isn't a stitch that we need to work in, because that's just the turning chain. We insert your hook into the first double crochet stitch of row 2, and then we're going to slip stitch, meaning we're going to yarn over, pull through that stitch and the previous one. That's our first 2 rows of our hat. For the next row, it's going to be turning chain, that's 2 chains, and then we're going to work 2 double crochet stitch on the first stitch, but only 1 on the next stitch. So the pattern is we're going to alternate if we're going to increase the double crochet stitch, or we're simply going to work one double crochet stitch for every stitch. So we're going to increase for alternate stitches, but we're going to work one double crochet stitch for the alternate stitches. So let me show you. So in the next one, I'm going to be working 2 double crochet stitches. That's 1 and 2. But for the next stitch, I'm only going to put 1 double crochet stitch. Okay. The alternate stitch, we're going to be working 2 double crochet stitches, but the next one, we're going to just work 1 double crochet stitch. So you should end up with 30 Am I right? If not, then I'm gonna have to edit myself. I think I might be wrong. Let me see. I think it's 30. We're gonna end up with 30 double crochet stitches for the third row. Okay. So only one way to check is to actually count the number of stitches that we've made. Okay, so in the next one, I'm going to work 2 double crochet stitch. The following is just 1 double crochet stitch. Remember, this video, you can always just pause it, rewind it, okay? If you want to go back to things, if you want to keep working on this and I'm talking too fast or I'm working too fast. Okay, or you can just look for another video, an easier video for you. All right, let's count the number of stitches we just made for our third row. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, and 30. So we have 30 double crochet stitches, and we're going to close this row by inserting our hook into the first double crochet stitch of that row, and then slip stitch to close it. And then we move on to our fourth row. So we're going to make our turning chain. So in my case, I prefer using 2 chains. If you prefer 3 chains, it's fine as well. For this one, we are going to increase our double crochet stitches only on the first of the following stitches. So you're going to be counting 1, 2, 3. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Okay. So the 3 stitches of the previous row, that's a group. The first stitch of that group, you're going to increase your double crochet stitch. In the second and third stitches of that group, you're only going to work 1 double crochet stitch. Okay, so here we go. Work 2 double crochet stitch in the first stitch, 1 double crochet stitch in the second and third stitch. So that's a group. 1, 2, 3. You end up with 1, 2, 3, 4. The first of that group, you increase the double crochet. The second and third, you only work 1 double crochet stitches each. So again, increase double crochet by working 2 double crochet stitch in the first stitch. Work 1 double crochet stitch in the second and third stitch. So 1, 2, 3, 2 double crochet stitches here, 1 double crochet stitch here, and 1 double crochet stitch here. So for the first of the group, we're going to work 2 double crochet stitches there. For the second one, just a single double crochet stitch. For the third one, again, a single double crochet stitch. And you're going to end up with 40 double crochet stitches in the fourth row. Okay. So 2 double crochet stitch here. All right. Let's go back to talking about the size that comes out of this. So I did start talking about, it depends on certain things like sizes of the yarn, the size of the hook, and the way you crochet. So all you have to do is observe and then you act accordingly. If the size of the hat comes out too big, then you either adjust the crochet hook, you adjust the yarn thickness, which is actually harder than the other factors because sometimes you prefer a certain thickness, and also the availability of colors. Or you adjust a bit of the pattern. So if it says make 5 rows of this and it turns out too big, then you just reduce the number of rows. So this is actually how I started out, thinking about the patterns and adjusting the patterns. Once I got good enough to be comfortable enough to adjust the patterns according to how I make things, that's when I started to think, maybe I can make my own patterns. So it's all about practice. You won't get things right the first time. And the good thing about crochet is most of the things that we're using are quite affordable. Okay. I said most, not everything. So this is the fourth row. We close that row by doing our slip stitch. We should have 40 double crochet stitches there. Now from here on, things are going to be different. Okay. So normally for a child's size hat, which is what I normally get orders for, I'll be increasing every row the size of the, so for example, that's 10, 20, 30, 40. I increase the size until I get to like 7 or 8 rows. And after the 7th or 8th row, I stop increasing it and just work like 1 stitch for every stitch. Okay. So for the 5th row, what I'm going to be doing is I'm not going to be increasing it by the same amount. Okay. So I'm going to be sort of increasing it, but at a slower rate. What I do is I am going to count 10. I'm going to be working 10 double crochet stitches. And then on the 10th stitch, I'll be increasing my stitch. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. So I made a single double single double crochet stitches, or 1 double crochet stitch for every stitch. And then after the 10th stitch, I'm going to add another double crochet stitch there. Okay. And then go back to the same pattern. So I will count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And on that 10th stitch for this particular group, I'm going to add another double crochet stitch there. Okay. And then do the same thing, do the same pattern. Okay. Make 10 double crochet stitches on 10 separate stitches of the previous row. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and another double crochet stitch. And then do that again until you get to the end. 2. Sorry, busy. So that was my husband knocking on the door. Sorry about that. Everybody being isolated nowadays, so he needs to work from home. And this is exactly what I do on my daily basis. I work from home. All right, so we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Then one more double crochet stitch there. And then we are going to insert our hook in the next stitch, or the first stitch of that row. Okay. So we have made 5 rows. The next row, the 6th row, is similar to the 5th row, but instead of doing single, like 9 single ones, and then you increase it like like a 2 double ones in one. We're going to do the same thing, but we're going to increase the number of single double crochet stitches. Okay, so if you look at the previous row, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and then here you're going to put 2 double crochet stitches there. So this time around you're going to count to 11. Okay, so turning chain, which is 2 chains for me, work 11 double crochet stitches, 1 each from the previous row. Okay. So I've made 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and I'm going to work 2 double crochet stitches on the next stitch, and just keep doing that. Okay, keep doing that. Okay, and then because we're nearing the 30-minute mark, So I would like to continue our tutorial after the 6th row. Let's make the 7th row on our next video. Okay, if you have any questions, please feel free to ask on our comments. You can also visit our Facebook page, which is called Cris Crochet Shop. You can also join our private Facebook group. All right, see you later.